Well, what a gift we get to be together, and we're gonna get the official program started here. And I know there's gonna be some folks that we're only able to come for a certain window, others that signed up wanting to get to recording. So we're gonna get rolling here. But thank you, first of all, for showing up. Right? I know we say it time and time again, but 90% of life is really showing up. And so much is possible simply by you being here, by us getting to be together, and the magic that gets to unfold because of that. And so my colleague Henrik and I are so excited to welcome you here. And one of the beauties of being in different countries is Henrik's in Ecuador right now. And for those that don't know, when it's not raining, electricity doesn't just happen, right? The Earth Day here, we're talking about electricity and energy and the planet. One of the things we take for granted is that there's just electricity 24/7. So there are power outages when it's not raining, and there's power outages going on right now. So if we lose Henrik unexpectedly, that might be why. But it's one of the beauties here of getting to connect with so many different folks in different countries. And Henrik and I together will be bouncing back and forth today. So enjoy, and this is going to be very participatory today. So it's not just going to be getting talked at. So with that though, Henrik, can I invite you to get us grounded here?
Sure. It's our little ritual here in the gratitude learning space, taking a breath, allowing us to get centered, getting present. And so it's just 3 breaths together here, right? And if you allow to lead me here, it's just like breathing in a box. On one side of the box, you're breathing in while I count to 4. And then on the top, you hold your breath again while we count to 4. And on the other side, you breathe out slowly while we count to 4. And you hold again at the bottom. It's this holding your breath at the top of the bottom that does the trick to allow us to get out of this fight or flight mode, or being more present, activate the empathetic part of the brain, etc. So if you'd like to join me, you can close your eyes or lower your gaze, whatever is most comfortable for you. Getting ready. Then simply breathing in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. And one more at your own pace, please. And while you are in that space, keep your eyes closed a little bit. Write yourself a permission slip for today. Anything that's really needed for you to be fully present here. What do you need to allow yourself? Please allow yourself that permission slip. And then just slowly come back to the space.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. And so it's Earth Month, Earth Day is tomorrow, but why are we here, right? One of the things is this event celebrating gratitude, and we're coming together to share impact stories from the community of what we like to think of as truly healing the planet, right? We have the ecology, yes, but how are we actually healing the social fabric? How are we healing our society that enables so much potential to happen, that enables us to really transform the world in which we live in together? And gratitude-based learning, some of you are here having just recently graduated from one of our training programs. Others have been in the community for a while. Others have heard about this event in one way, shape, or form, and like, what is this gratitude-based learning thing all about? We're going to get to hear stories today. But some of the impact that has happened with gratitude-based learning, we've had students getting $2 million investments in solar panels, multiplying business growth in companies. We've had companies making company-wide policy decisions with their employee input. We've had people creating trusting teams and communities where people actually get to know one another, from janitors to students to managers and direct reports. Some of the impact is people being able to share tough feedback together, have difficult conversations, to have your voice heard, and get to grow closer together because of that friction, and getting even more action together because of that friction, rather than having us further isolate and disconnect from one another. But really, it's been creating this more fun atmosphere, the shift from people being strangers to friends that are doing stuff together. Families are having meals together again and getting closer after challenging situations. We have sports teams that are winning championships together and rapidly evolving throughout the season with gratitude-based learning. And we also have neighbors who previously maybe really disliked one another. They're actually talking again. So much impact that has already happened. And together here, we're going to just get to hear raw stories of what this looks like in the real world and how people have been applying this, and what it's like to be part of this. But a little bit about who we are. Again, some folks know this already, but just the company behind gratitude-based learning, Onora. And so we started in 2019 as actually a software company for mobilizing collective climate action. And in 2020, as we started to go live, this shift of, are we seeing things? We think we have things figured out. We know all the answers, but then we were asked this question of what would happen if we led from a place of love instead of fear. And that started to lay this foundation of this big shift that we'll talk about in a second, that during some market research, we uncovered insights that led to the creation of gratitude-based learning, this new way to create inspiring change in community. And my co-founder, Henrik, and I here on the call and partnering together on taking this big shift and getting into action. And so far have touched lives in 6 different continents, 12 different countries. I've been working with CEOs, managers, employees, folks that touch the school network, from students to principals to educators to activists to parents, and a whole lot more. And where we're at now is we have been taking this into many different environments and now working on scaling this throughout many ecosystems around the world. And so that's really our focus here in 2024. But the perspective that we bring into all of this, right, is we see so much potential. There's so much desire of what can be. And our perspective is that it's not a cookie cutter solution. Evolving any ecosystem, whether it's a company, whether it's a school, whether it's a family, whether it's a friendship, evolving any ecosystem is going to take nuance and grace. And our approach to doing that in Onora is find gratitude of what is, build connections, and then we develop and grow together, which sounds, right, really so simple when you break it down into something like that, but it's not quite so simple. And so I want to just share this big shift that we mentioned of what happened that led to how we created gratitude-based learning. And it's so beautiful when someone sees the world from such a different perspective than you, can show you that there's a different possibility. And so high school students happen to be that teacher for me. And so we were leading a program with high school students, and we're helping the students create a project in their community. The students wanted to create an impact project in their community. And we asked the students, all right, well, what are the problems you see? Because that was the way that I'd been taught, that the typical innovation problem solving model is start with problems, and then we'll come together and get ideas going, and then we'll be able to go from there of, all right, what do we want to put into action? And when we asked the students, what are problems in your community that we can start with, not a single student could identify any problems in their community. Think about that, not a single problem in their community. And these are students that had deep anxiety, worries about the planet, the state of the planet in the future. And so our guiding principle was, what would happen if we led from a place of love instead of fear, right? It didn't feel right for us to be like, well, what about this problem? What about that problem? And put the students into this fight or flight mode, looking at the world as full of holes and broken. And so we just fell back on that guiding principle. What would happen if we led from a place of love instead of fear? And we simply asked the students, well, let's just take a look at what exists in our schools. We have lights, we have heat in the winter, we have green space, we have trash cans, we have a cafeteria. The stuff exists. What's the positive impact and positive ripple effects that happens because of what exists, regardless of what it takes to make happen behind the scenes? Simply because of what's there, what's the good stuff that gets to happen? And so students, for example, looked at trash cans and the fact that trash cans exist in the schools, means that it's cleaner outside, which then means that we get to spend more time outside. It feels better. They want to spend more time outside with their friends. They come back to class feeling better. And when they looked at the ripple effects, they're like, the fact that trash cans exist helped me make friends and get into college, which blew our mind to have students having this expansion of consciousness. And so we're like, all right, well, the goal of the summer, the goal of this program in the summer was to help you start a project in your community. So how do we do that from this aha of, wow, there's a different way we could do things? And so we said, well, what if we actually thank the people responsible for that goodness? What if we got curious about what it takes to make all this goodness happen? What do they wish someone like me would know about it? Talk to the janitors, talk to the people doing the work to make all this goodness happen. And so we called this gratitude-based learning and innovation at the time, and it's since evolved into gratitude-based leadership and learning and living and parenting in so many different ways. And really what we've been doing since this this discovery is putting theory into action, right? Because we want to see change in the real world. We want to see real action happening in the real world. And so that's what really today is going to be about, is getting to hear from people that are getting out of theory, that are then getting into the real world and practicing and learning and growing together. And so, Henrik, if you want to just share a bit here about what is, we put theory into framework, right? So we can use it.
I think maybe I should ask you guys to just listen a little bit to what Adam was saying just a minute ago here, and what we're actually hearing. What I was hearing from Adam was he was connecting with that passion. It was coming out of him, you can really feel he's engaged, right? And I think that's, at the end of the day, what we really would like to see happening is that you guys get connected to that thing that motivates you and that passion. So we have a framework for helping that, right? And instead of jumping to action based on this urgency sensation that everything is stress, fear, let's take that moment to really find that gratitude. If we start by really getting out of our heads and into our body, our hearts, feeling it, not just thinking it, everything changes. The whole energy in people and in the connections that we, for how we connect with one another and for how we go about things, everything changes if we have that different energy about us. And that is actually going to lead us to so much more action happening that we really wanted to see, but not just any kind of action. Also, I would dare say better action, because we have created all of these connections, because we're coming with this different mindset, we might be able to come up with better solutions. And so that's a part of why we're going about this in a certain way. So putting it back to Adam, please.
And really, as our dear friend Albert Einstein said, no problem can be solved from the same consciousness that created it. All right. And so today, let's allow ourselves to see things from a different perspective. Allow ourselves to experience the door cracking open of a different way to possibly see things. And so today we're going to be hearing from people at various stages of learning and practicing GBL. Some students who literally just finished a training program, others who have been practicing leading in companies, leading in classrooms, leading community change. And so our format for today is really going to be about building relationships and getting to see different perspectives on change. And so we're going to have people sharing different stories. We're going to have breakout rooms to get to know one another. And the stories that we're going to be hearing are going to be focused on a couple different areas of society, so to speak. And so we have some community change makers that will get to talk about their experience with healing the food system. We have sustainable schools. We have thriving work environments and classrooms. And we're going to close today with a roadmap of ways that you can try out gratitude-based learning, some opportunities to get involved. And our favorite is the after party, where we end the official scheduled programming and we just get to flow and be together, and there's no agenda. So whatever people want to talk about can come about. So with that, there's way too many incredible, awesome humans here on the call today. And everyone's a potential friend. We're all one conversation from a potential friend, a potential other human being. And so just to kick us off here, we're going to go out into a breakout room actually and get to just meet another human being. And it's just going to be 3 minutes where introduce yourself and what spoke to you about joining today, why you're here. and we'll go from there into our stories for today. But it's all
Mhm.
about connecting here. And so what better way than for us to get to start by just connecting with one another?
All right. So, ready? I'll be sending you out 3 minutes. And if you don't find anybody in your breakout room, please come back and we'll chat here in the main room. All right? But have fun.
Welcome back. 3 minutes flies by. And Anne Marie, sorry we got cut off there, but I assume we're not the only ones. So,
It's brutal.
yeah, but the intention with any relationship building is, you know what, seeds get planted, and we get a chance to hopefully 90% of life is showing up, and the more we show up together, we can build on whatever just got started or whatever just got kindling. So we're gonna shift into the storytelling portion of the agenda today, and this is really about us getting to share with one another. Okay. Yes, we're going to record this. Yes, we're going to be able to share this with others. But like with everything, this isn't just about the future. It's about doing stuff now that's giving us energy now that also happens to be breathing extra life into the future. But this is about us now having fun and enjoying this moment together and being present in this moment together. So let's just have some fun with that. And if I can invite us all, as folks are sharing stories, take note of what you're getting excited about. Take note of what you're curious to learn more about, because kind of halfway through and then at the end, we're going to get to talk about that together. We're going to be doing another breakout here. And so take note of those things that you're getting excited about, things you're curious about, and we'll be growing from there together.
All righty. But let's first hear from Arnaldo and Brooke. Those two people have been part of our program, Leading with Love training, for how to heal the food system, one connection and one curiosity conversation at a time. But let's hear some of their experience. So maybe Arnaldo, are you with us here today? I think I saw you on the lists. Arnaldo? He's 2 times on the list, so maybe on different devices. Could we then ask Brooke to go first then?
No worries. Brooke? I'm here. Yes.
All right. There
Brooke,
you are.
You saved me.
Oh, Arnaldo, come on.
Sorry, no, I was double muted and I was out further out away from my computer, but now I'm here. Hey.
Well, you're welcome to go, Arnaldo.
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to set up my daughter's so she would be not screaming behind me while I was with you guys.
That's the best, though. Come on. You're keeping the wave.
Yeah, so she might appear because I don't know if I was able to set her up. So let's see how we go.
This is real life stories. So if life wasn't allowed to happen, it wouldn't be fair.
True that.
Arnaldo, could you share a story from your graduate-based learning experience? What would you like to dive into?
Yeah, no, definitely happy to do so. And if okay, and I know Henrik, I'm counting on you to please stop me if I'm going too far, both on time and on what I wanted to share about. But basically, just a quick intro. I'm Arnaldo Arnal, originally from Venezuela. I've been living here near Boston for the past about 10 years. I'm a father of 2 little girls. I'm passionate about nature and trying to solve climate, and currently working as a solar developer here in Massachusetts. And with GBL, well, it all started about a couple of years ago when these couple of crazy guys, Adam and Henrik, asked me to pilot an idea. I was very excited because for a while I had been trying to start a little homestead here in our house, which we had recently bought. And we had many plans to do many different things, but I always kind of got caught on starting anything. And so on the other side of the town where I live in, I would always try to buy a house that had an abundance of things, from a massive veggie patch to beehives, kiwi trellises, chicken coops, and just like so much more. And so that same day that Adam and Henrik asked me to have a curiosity conversation, I was driving by the house of this guy, which I drive by every time I'm going to go drop my girls at school. And there was this guy working on the veggie patch, so I just hit the brakes and parked my car. I said, I'm going to go and have this curiosity conversation. Not exactly sure how it's going to go, but I just went out and did it. And it was really like in my head. I was like, how will I do this? And I just started with a thank you and with saying thanks for the amazing effort that he had put into his backyard and having this look so awesome. And I told him that it had inspired me to do the same, and I was trying to do this. And very quickly, like within like it took it's we spent like an hour and a half or 2 hours talking, and he just started sharing about everything, and very and all his learning process, and like that our relationship started. And he shared with me his phone, and every time I would have a question, I would send him a text, or I would drop by, and he would teach me one thing or the other. And it was awesome. And now I've got here in my house, I'm looking out my window, we got our veggie patch, which is not looking so pretty right now, but it's coming. The flower patch, a compost pile. We also have a coop that we started last year. We got some chickens, which is awesome. And it was. I saw how quickly, like just by being curious with someone as simple as your neighbor could bring so much. And that started evolving. I don't know how. Am I doing good with time, Henrik?
We're trying to if you had
Let
to
it flow.
share with people, what is it that has come from this?
Yeah,
This-
yeah, that's where I was going. I was just a
yeah,
quick time check. But yeah, so what actually came out of this was kind of the simplicity of just being open to someone and sharing what you're doing, how could make such a big impact, and kind of being able to eliminate the friction, any friction that there could be. In my head, there was a friction of, oh, I'm like, what this guy gonna think about this creep just stopping in front of his car and talking with him, and I decided to kind of take that approach to the work that I do, and seeing how in climate change, I've been working in climate tech for about 10 years now. Like we got so many technologies, so many different things to solve climate change, but in reality, what we're missing is making people work together and making people want to work together. And it was amazing how I've been kind of starting to have that conversation with folks within my company, and it has really elevated the conversations, getting to know people more, getting to understand where are the frictions, and further understand how to work together. And it's been an immense help to actually applying this kind of gratitude approach towards working with others, and actually having an impact and being able to flow with the work that I'm doing. So that's I'll leave it there, and happy to share if you have, or if you probably prompt the question or not, and and we'll take us in a good direction.
sure. But thank you so much, Ronaldo, for sharing. It's amazing. And just take a moment to consider. I mean, what would it take if you stopped your car and talked to a neighbor, and all of the ripples that could happen from that? Bringing it into corporate space, and wow. So thank you for sharing that story, Ronaldo.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We'll keep building on stories here because I love stories, and I know, Brooke, you have a good story as well. What's something about gratitude-based learning that you would like to share?
So I'm Brooke Hildy. I live just outside of Boulder, Colorado, and I got involved with gratitude-based learning through Henrik, who I met through Farmer's Footprint. And the moment he started talking about gratitude-based learning, I just resonated with how this shifts every conversation, which then shifts people's life, etc. So, of course, I joined the first cohort that I could. And the very first thing I did was I wanted to be challenged by putting myself in a space that I absolutely did not agree with. So I picked having a curiosity conversation with a GMO farmer. Now, I'm coming from the alternative health space. I'm all about growing in soil that is 100% pure, where the microbiome actually gets into the plants, etc. So I follow Jeffrey Smith. I am not a GMO person. So I thought, well, okay, let's do this because I want to see what another person's perspective is and what on earth is motivating them in that direction. So one thing led to another, and I happened upon a farmer who is a generational farmer, who is a GMO farmer in this area. And it took a little bit of prodding, email, calling. And when I finally got him on the phone, it was such a shock because I actually got him. And the very first thing he said was, I don't really want to talk to you. I mean, that was how the conversation started. But, and I, of course, immediately said, well, I can understand that. And then went on. And we ended up having a conversation over an hour. And I learned so many different perspectives, meaning I started to understand that this is a man with children, with life, with a farm, who explained to me about the distribution aspects of his business, how the machinery, I mean, things that there's no way I would ever have understood or thought about. This is the beauty of actually bringing in somebody who does not have the same perspective as you do. So that was the very beginning. Now that was what, maybe a year and a half ago. And since then, I can honestly tell you, I have probably had 50 stories of things that have been mind-boggling my entire life, and how I interact in the communities that I'm in, that I preach this to, and just the ability to catch myself when I would normally react to something, to shift from being reactive into actually being able to be nice and come from a place of gratitude when you're annoyed or angry or whatever, so that the rest of your day ends up being a wonderful experience, as opposed to being like super, strung up. So I cannot begin to explain the ripple effects, how this literally ripples out in every single area of your life, whether it's family, business, who you are being all the time. It opens up awarenesses of where people are coming from, which also gives us such a different perspective on how we can create new. We can do things better than what we have been doing. Taking into account the perspective of you young people is just brilliant. So I just cannot talk more enthusiastically about everything that this gives you the possibilities to create in your life and everything else. So thank you.
Thank you, Brooke, so much. Adam, maybe do you have a follow-up question here for diving in a little bit deeper? That's one of the things that we do in graduate-based learning, is asking these deepening questions. So what's something, Adam, please?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have both given the tip of the iceberg here, right? We could take this in 10 million different directions. And rather than telling you, let's go this direction, Brooke, Arnaldo, is there a different space, right? You entered in a certain space trying to apply this in healing the food system. Is there a different space, whether it's in your company or a relationship? Is there a different space that you can share of where you've brought this, what it's looked like? Because we all come in with certain intentions, right? And we allow ourselves to be surprised by where this goes. Is there an area that you'd like to share of where this has taken itself?
Arnaldo?
Brooke?
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't want
Go
to
ahead.
talk. I just didn't want to dominate. Let me tell you about a space that is awkward, where this actually ended up with a win-win situation. So I was I used to lead an entire group, and I left the group. And when I left, there was a person in the group that I cared about very much. And she took great offense to the fact that I no longer was supporting that group, and created a lot of friction around all of this. And wanting to address this, so I didn't want to have this friction everywhere. And so I actually called her and asked her to have a conversation with me so that we could discuss what happened, and so that we could neutralize this. And or at least that was what I wanted to do. So I called her up and she responded. We had a conversation. She owned up to what she had done. And I was talking about how we're all in this. Everybody's point of view matters. And we don't have to all agree. And this is the beauty about what GBL does, is because we can all have completely different opinions on things, but as long as we are open and can share and discuss and collaborate with each other, then we all benefit, because whatever ends up coming up is going to be to the benefit of all. And by the time that I finished this conversation, it was, everything had been it was calm. She felt okay. I felt okay. But it was, it wasn't a normal, it was having come at this from the standpoint of, I want this to end well, changed everything. So that's just taking GBL in a direction where we have situations that are not always comfortable. Anyway, I thought I'd share that. But there's so many. So go ahead, Arnaldo.
Thank you, Brooke.
Yeah, happy to share. For me, one that I try to apply, a space where I try to apply this a lot, and granted, it is very hard. It's not easy to just say, I know I'm looking at it from a lens of gratitude and do it every day. It is very, very hard, and especially when there's other things affecting you in life, either work or school or whatever that might be. And for me, it's with my family. So having two little girls and having and working as well, and sometimes obviously things don't go perfectly. And just like literally a few weeks ago, my daughter was making a mess like crazy all over, and I had just gotten a very stressful day, and like I could perfectly start I actually did start like, stop doing that, and I just go back to the work that I was doing. Stop doing that. And I was like, you know what, let me put a stop on my computer, try to figure out what's going on with her. And so sitting down, she told me, I'm trying to water the plants, I'm trying to help. And it's like thank you. And so it's taking the step of being and appreciating the person for what they're doing, even if it's from, again, my 3-year-old daughter. And I would do the same thing with my mother. And in my head, she's driving me nuts because every day she brings something else to do in my house, but as well, she's trying to help me and bringing stuff that she thinks I need for my house. And so it's really hard, but if you sit through it and think through, as we call, what are the ripple effects of the things that the person you're working with is doing, it's a lot easier to actually go through it. Yeah, so in family.
Yeah. And that's the idea, right? Let's take this and bring it into all the spaces where we are. And family and local community, work, schools, so many good places where we could use this. So thank you both for sharing. And let's dive into some students here. A few of the young people that we have here would be sharing a story because they have gone through the fellowship that we just ended. And Adam, do you have?
Yeah, well, I'll just add, it's Arnaldo, what you were sharing around, it's hard, right? And doing anything, and we can learn something, but then real life hits and it's hard. And so this amazing group of young humans who, on top of all the schoolwork, on top of all the sport, on top of everything were like, I want to voluntarily add more to my plate and learn about how do I go about leadership and change in a different way, which in and of itself, incredible, right? Try to think back when we were in school and incredible. And so, but they're just getting to finish off doing this together, right? We're learning together. It's not a one-on-one learning. We're learning together, because now, I mean, this is, call it their graduation sharing. And because then after today is, we get to experience what you guys just described, Brooke and Ronaldo, which is real life, right? And putting this stuff into real life. And so we'll just invite students to, share. They've been learning about, join this for leading impact projects and how do we create sustainable change with GBL. But as we all know, we sometimes get out of things different than what we thought we were getting into it, right? And so as the students will go around and just share the project they're excited about or working on, and any story that they wish to share coming out of their experience so far learning GBL.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So there's 4 students here. Shirin, are you with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please go and share what you would like to tell people from your experience here with the graduate-based learning.
Yes. So I actually came to the fellowship with a project in mind to pursue. And the project that I wanted to work on was creating a webinar for people across New Jersey, the state that I live in, to come listen to different professionals and people who work with plastics and talk about upcycling. But after the fellowship, I was able to learn that even if you're not able to get everything that you want to have at your event, like the different guest speakers or different venues, you can still make the most of what you have. And the story that I wrote about was about journaling and the positive effect that it had on me. Do I just say my story now?
Yes, please.
So my story was sticky notes upon sticky notes. Thoughts and feelings all stuck around the wooden desk I sit at each week. Each note resembles an idea and thought that I had not yet encountered prior to this fellowship. Each note showcases the experiences I've had the chance to learn from each Sunday from February. My latest sticky note reminding me to always share my story, but also to listen to everyone else's unique individual story. I have learned so much from each person in the fellowship who has pushed my thinking and made me question my prior instincts. I have been challenged countlessly and had to think differently to adapt to a newer and better way of thinking and developing conversations and relationships. I have learned to look beyond the first encounters and unravel the stories hidden within each individual. I have learned the importance of being curious and taking risks, but at the same time learned to listen and understand the perspective of others. I have learned to look beyond the potholes on a road, but instead think of the whole picture and be kind. But most importantly, I've gained a better understanding of being present and trying my best to make the most of every opportunity. My very first sticky note being, quote, 90% of life is showing up. The last 10% is how you show up. I promise to continue making the most of every opportunity given to me and being present, but at the same time continue to strive to make the most of the last 10%. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Shirin. Beautiful. And so, as you can hear, it's not little things here. It's a lot, right? Coming in, being challenged, and then actually putting it into practice. Quite a lot. So, well done, Shirin. Let's go around, hear from the rest, and then there will be some follow-up questions, okay? Aubrey, are you here with us, please?
Did I get my camera to work?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay,
Beautiful.
Great. So I came into the fellowship not really knowing what I was walking into, well, joining, and I ended up meeting some really great people, and my project that I'm working on right now is doing a clothing drive with my school in my green club at the school, and we're trying to collect clothing so that we can resell them to raise money for our next project and kind of continue on with that throughout the next few years. So my story, that is that my fellowship experience has made me a better person and teammate. Participating in this journey was a creative process, and it not only reinforced my problem-solving abilities, but also helped to encourage me to find ways to be open and excited for new opportunities. Through each meeting, the people I enjoyed an hour and 15 minutes with per week managed to hone in my skills in breaking down friction, leading with love, and being curious and present in every scenario. For example, in one of these meetings, we discussed friction and facing challenges when talking to others. I experienced that in the following week, and since then, I have used my skills to navigate those frictions and find ways to grow and be better. Embracing the program's consistent and true positivity and earnestness, I approach every task with enthusiasm, viewing setbacks as stepping stones to growth. These people are so strong and determined, and it encourages me to take a little bit of that from them as I continue on with my own journey. Moreover, the fellowship provided a fertile ground for developing long-lasting relationships with my peers, and each interaction contributed to a network of support and closeness that is going to extend far beyond the duration of these meetings. As I reflect on my journey, I am extremely grateful for the lessons that I learned and the impact that it has had on my personal development. This fellowship has not only helped me with the skills necessary to navigate the frictions of the world, but has also charged me with a renewed sense of purpose and a belief in the power of perseverance. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Aubrey. Did you notice one thing that she said at the beginning? She had no idea what she was getting herself into. And so many of our students have said like that, right? After the experience, it's like, wow, I had no idea. And really, how could we possibly share that? All of the things that you are gaining from this, if we put it out, we're like, oh, we're promising quite a lot. But it sometimes happens. So beautiful. Let's move on here. And Arav, you're with us.
Yeah.
Can you share your story, please?
Yeah, so just a brief introduction. Like my
Mhm.
experience with the fellowship was like extremely positive, and I took away a lot of valuable information while also like understanding like the importance of having friction and how it can positively impact you. So like my story will just be about the friction that I encountered and how it helped like shape me and how it helped me move forward in these meetings. All right, so in January, I attended the Anara introductory meeting and committed to the fellowship with an eagerness to create and showcase a project that would impact my community. I would eagerly wait for the first meeting, day by day, hour by hour. And the day finally came, and I opened my computer for the introductory meeting, and it was not what I expected. I thought the cohort would begin taking action from day one, and I ignored the fact that we actually had to learn all the skills first. With this, I initially adopted a lax attitude towards participation. And before I start, yes, it's completely normal to spend time introducing and learning in the fellowship, but I sure didn't think so at that time. I was so caught up on the idea of applying skills which I never even had, and as I look back, if I started creating a project from day one, it wouldn't even have been half as meaningful, successful, and impactful as it is today. On the day of the second meeting, I had a badminton practice, and I attended the call from my club. This, coupled with my lax attitude, was a huge mistake because I wasn't engaged, was talking to my friends during the call, and was distracting others in the fellowship. Despite my fair attempt to take notes, I was still distracted and nothing worked. Thankfully, one of my mentors, Henrik, addressed my behavior with understanding and concern by prompting me to comprehend why I was having this friction and help me brainstorm ways to get back into a flow state regarding meetings in the fellowship. And through our communication, we came up with the solution of staying in a quiet space like my room, the library, or the coach's room at my badminton club to avoid distractions from others. I also started putting my phone in a different room with notifications on, and this proved successful. I committed to embracing a growth mindset while I prioritized being present in the fellowship meeting so I could actually take away the information which I wanted to use to start my project. And with this growth mindset, just like I said earlier, I've taken away a lot of valuable information that I'm currently applying to my project and other aspects of my life. I learned how to effectively communicate with others and lead others using GBL by understanding and practicing styles of conversing, such as curiosity conversations. And all of these skills have helped me in projects I'm doing, a club that I'm in, which is DECA, and in my leadership positions at school clubs. I'm really happy to be in this fellowship, and I'm glad I ran into friction early so I could understand what was going wrong, solve it, and take away more valuable information.
Thank you, Arav. Beautiful. And that's one of the key things is that it's not only unicorns and butterflies and positive and everything's happy, smooth. There's friction. Stuff comes up, and that's when the rubber hits the road, right? If we're able to actually put it into practice in those situations. And so thank you, Arav, for having that engagement and allowing it to not be the end point, but the growth starting point. So beautiful story. Thank you so much. Graham, you're with us as well.
Yes.
Please share a little bit about your story.
So my project has been to try and get electric car chargers on my school's campus, and then to more importantly, spread awareness of how that can positively impact the environment and how people can also help to to share that impact. And near the beginning of the Enora Fellowship, I had no idea what gratitude-based learning was or how it could even help me better interact with people. And I had no idea that GBL would give me an opportunity to not only continue my project, but also better my relationships with others. Throughout the fellowship, I learned that GBL is something that can help you professionally and personally. And even more so, I would not have been able to learn this without the help of the amazing people doing this fellowship with me. They helped me to realize the importance of learning and utilizing GBL. And they also helped me to realize more about my project than I ever knew that I knew about it. And I'm currently working and while I currently try to work to install these electric car chargers on my campus, the more I talked about and explained my project, the more I realized about the goods and the bads about my plans, and I was able to adjust based on that. And this significantly helped me to reimagine my project in ways that could help me significantly in the future. And without this fellowship, I would not have been able to progress in my project as much as I have. And every conversation that I've had has helped me to better my understanding with my community and how the project can positively impact it in a way that makes people think about the environment. Because if I can make someone think more about the environment through my project, I will count that as a success. And through this fellowship, I have come closer to that dream. Now, with the fellowship coming to a close, I can say that I have learned a lot and hope to have the opportunity to introduce other people to this opportunity, just like I was invited to experience it.
Thank you so much, Graham. Beautiful. So, Adam, do you have a follow-up question here for these guys?
Yeah, and I'm gonna put it on the minds of everyone, because we're gonna go out into breakout rooms in a little bit to get to talk about this, but I'll put it out to the students, which is just what's your hope for the future? What's your hope for, whether it's of education, of environmental change, mate? Like what's the potential, the hope that you guys are seeing for the future here? And I know broad, open-ended, but I'll let you guys take that with what's speaking to you. Graham,
please.
Yeah, I'd say that for me, I would love to see more like high schools being able to give opportunities to learn about how people can help the environment even in small ways, because I know that it's difficult for like high schoolers to be able to get involved without being given the opportunity to form those connections and to learn about it.
So thank you. What else? Wouldn't it be amazing if what? Sharon or Aubrey or Arav?
I think just having more people have like curiosity. Oh, sorry, my camera's on. Just having more people having like curiosity conversations. And I think it was either Brooke or Arnaldo who said this about how they randomly just went up to someone and had a conversation, and that just changed their entire mindset. And I feel like even through this fellowship, like when we were in our pairs and we were able to talk to different people each week, you were able to like gain a different perspective on a random issue that you were discussing. And I think if more people were motivated to have conversations and like leave their comfort zone and talk to people that they don't normally talk to, they would not only learn so much about a different culture, a different perspective, but they would able to make more long-lasting relationships. Because I feel like right now, like in school, most people just have like 4 or 5 friends that they're really close with, and then everyone else is just an acquaintance. But I feel like if we're able to like leave our comfort zone and just talk to more people and build stronger relationships, you'll have a larger network of people that you can reach out to, and you'll just have more people that can support you through your journey. And I feel like through this fellowship, I really understood the importance of just having conversations, which is such a simple thing. But I feel like now we don't really do it as much unless it's like someone's telling us to have a conversation with someone. So that's something that I want to take away, and I hope other people can as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sharon. Aubrey, please.
Yeah, I agree with Sharon. I think getting out of your comfort zone is really important. I mean, I think we all have to do that in order to join the fellowship. And I think trying to reach out to others and see other people's perspectives also makes you gain better perspective on your own journey. So having those conversations and trying to find something new is definitely a way to have a new connection with people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, Henrik, please.
No, beautiful. Yeah. So let's go out into breakout rooms and get curious about this. And hopefully you took some notes from today, from all the conversations. Would you like to prompt, Adam?
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll be with the same people, maybe some different people, but however the Google Meet universe is pairing people up, just we'll have a couple minutes here. I think 3 minutes, Henrik, or 4 minutes.
Sure.
But yeah, introduce yourself if we need an introduction. But yeah, what's your hope for the future? We're right. There's so much potential. What's your hope for the future? Wouldn't it be amazing if what's that potential you're seeing here?
Okay. So sending you out, enjoy, and we'll be back in a minute.
Howdy.
Hi, Arnaldo.
Hey.
That wasn't anybody in your room?
No. No, all good.
All good. Well.
Yeah, no, I took the chance to go check on my daughter.
Sure. Yeah, I thought that you probably had something you could spend your time on.
Yes.
All good. Welcome back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
What did you discover, Adam?
Well, where is she? Aubrey, would you like to share?
Me and Adam are both Jewish, and we were talking about how a lot of the GBL values are also in kind of alignment with Jewish values. And we didn't get to finish our conversation, but he was telling me about how there are some students who have gone through this program that have implemented GBL into their temples and their religion. And I was just thinking, like, that's a great idea. I should probably take that on as my next project, because I think that is so important to share it with people or in my community that I care for so strongly.
Wow. Yeah. So many good stories here. Let's hear from a few more people that maybe we haven't heard from. I see Sarah. Would you like to share maybe, or?
Yeah, sure. So I was with Anne Marie, and we didn't get to the prompt. We were just chatting about stuff, and really cool. I could say, Anne Marie, I would love to chat with you more if you ever want to. And yeah, we just kind of talked about location and kind of like life changes and what we're doing, and yeah, I resonated a lot with just kind of her story, the little tiny bit that I heard.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I need to hear more. So.
Yeah, but to the point, right? We can't move on until we made that connection, right? And so you're honoring gratitude-based learning. That's what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Adam?
I could spend the next forever on this. And Henrik, I'm wondering, do we go Cooper video or just go straight to Anne Marie here?
Let's do the Cooper video. I think we have time.
Okay. Awesome. And so just before I'm going to play a video here, there's people that wanted to be here that couldn't be, that sent in a video recording. And so Cooper, who's going to share here, he's one of the first educators to learn about GBL and take this into leading in his school. And so they've gotten multi-million-dollar solar panel projects approved and implemented, zero waste composting, and a whole lot. They've had a club turn into a class, and it's pretty incredible. But Cooper, and people see that level, right? When Cooper and they win these national awards, and that's what people see, right? All the big sexy stuff. But what is it like actually being what is it actually like being an educator who's being charged with stewarding students and stewarding change, and you have administrators and relationships on that front, and how do we do all that? And so Cooper was kind enough to have a conversation that got to be recorded, and we're going to get to play a little snippet from that here. Can you guys see my screen?
It's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna let me know if you
thing
can't.
that you always get taught in every class you've ever taken about education is like, it's all about the relationships. It's all about the relationships. It's all about the relationships. But nowhere in that is there any like roadmap outside of just like, we expect you as a teacher to be inherently good at developing these relationships. And I think what you guys offer is a clear, intentional practice that helps you to develop a mindset that relationships inherently flow from. You're an adult and they're children, like there's a huge like gap to bridge there. And I think that GBL is like, oh, this is a bridge to build to do that for. And I think it would be helpful for someone who's inherently like, how do I make friends with kids without that being just like pretending I'm one of them? You know, like it's very much so like a authentic, exploratory way of proceeding that then builds relationships. And then the students that are a product of that are like, wow, I have a really strong relationship with this teacher. We've been curious together. We've gone on this journey. I've felt heard by them. I've felt checked in with by them. You know, I can tell that they're settled and I know what's bothering them when things are bothered, like that there's open, clear communication there. And that's what the relationship is. This background, this training helps to like take an integrated approach to building relationships with your students that is like rooted in shared mission and values.
Outside of the classroom with colleagues, with how does this play out in those spheres?
I mean, just really, really effectively. It plays out to kind of know when I'm going to be getting into the weeds with somebody, or if I'm going to be trying to build something with somebody, or even if I have a conflict with somebody or a disagreement, that I kind of have some steps to fall back on, and really just reminders to myself about how I work, how other people work, how I want to be treated, how I'm guessing they want to be treated. And then using kind of like GBL as the baseline is like, oh, there is a way to engage in this situation that might seem like awkward or strange or too novel to be even pursued. Like if you apply some of these basic principles, like almost nothing is kind of too awkward, nothing is kind of too difficult, or nothing's too like ambitious, because like there is a place to start in on big ideas or challenging ideas. And having a place to start, I think, is super important.
If you were to pass a message along to another teacher, what's something you wish they would know?
I mean, I think what's
this?
rad about what you guys do, which is also super rare in like education circles, is that like the process of this program has certainly been of the program itself. It's like I experienced a gratitude-based learning environment to get to reflect upon how to implement a gratitude-based learning environment myself. The positive experience I've had was even more positive than I could have imagined. And then that gives me confidence to know that if I implement this into my classroom, that students' experience with it will be even more positive than they could have imagined, because I've seen that it works. Like evidence piece number one is the program itself. I think any student or teacher going into this, like, be stoked that even if you don't listen to any of the content, you're going to have an experience of what it's like to be in that space. And it's hopefully a good one.
Oh, we could keep playing videos and videos and recordings and beautiful stories. And could I just share one thing that really excites me when I see Cooper? It's, I'm always looking for this thing that, when can I sense or see, or, when does somebody really gets it? Okay. That's one thing. And then when they get to put it into practice, and I'll never ever forget Cooper when he was in this program, and he was just now being challenged, go out, put it into practice, right? And he was coming back from having these conversations, and he really noticed that holding back his own agenda, just listening to others, not even asking them or prompting them in a certain direction, and what he learned from that, the level to what degree you will have people open up to you, the more you can hold back and just allow them, that was amazing. That was beautiful. And so I think so. The point of what he's sharing here is, we need to put it into practice. Otherwise, it's just fluffy theoretical. So beautiful example.
And with that, so you've heard this phrase ripple effects come up quite a bit, right? And we never know the ripple effects that we're going to have. Every little thing we say and do, even our name Onora, comes from Greta Thunberg's middle name, Eleonora, because my shift in perspective started from a random Facebook video that was recorded of her giving a speech to a random government. We never know the ripple effects that we're going to have. And so Cooper, all the work that they're doing together led to us getting to get connected with this Jesuit schools network and do an introduction to a whole group of educators. And we get the benefit of getting to meet Anne-Marie through this windy world of ripple effects. And so Anne-Marie, you want to share a little bit about your experience here?
Thanks for the landing of the launch pad. That was perfect. So I teach at St. Louis University High School in St. Louis, Missouri. It's a little over 200 years old now, and it's a single-sex, all-male high school. My background is history, so I'm a world history teacher and a human geography teacher, and I'm the sustainability committee chair. So I've been working on those issues and trying to, at all levels, holistically integrate sustainability into my institution with others for over a decade or so actively. And we were looking for some resources, and somebody suggested what was going on in Brophy. I ended up with Cooper's connection through Jesuit educators, and then from Cooper, I ended up with Honora, and that's been a real gift to me. And we were hoping to get to strategically plan, which is how I ended up with Cooper's connection originally, was because his class, his club, which became a class, created one of the few sustainability plans for their high school. And it was student created, which is really rare. A lot of the universities all have them, but from a high school level, that's not really a thing. It's becoming more so, but they have one of the first. So we got the opportunity to strategically plan after requesting it, I don't even know, 5 years. And it just hadn't been the right time. COVID, threw a monkey wrench and everything. And then there were lots of other strategic plans. And so I'm working with an administrator who, the last time we were able to strategically plan, it was about 10 years ago. And my good friend, Jim, he actually led the committee on sustainable facilities, and I was a part of that. And he put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that. And some good stuff came out, but not really what were probably our biggest priorities or the issues that were near and dearest to our hearts when it all kind of coalesced on a school level. So when Jim and I got a chance to plan our first strategic task force planning session, which happened last month, at the end of last month, Jim walked into this with a lot of love and a lot of passions and a lot of sort of stored up ideas that were in binders that had sat on the shelf for 10 years. And he's very good at framing meetings within love, within gratitude, which is very Jesuit, which is why I love listening to gratitude-based learning. Just kind of reverberates through much of what we do. And so this really, I'm trying to think if there's a word in physics where you amplifies, right? When the frequency doubles down, it begins to swing even further. And that's oftentimes what I feel like when we're working on this. So Jim and I are sort of setting up this introductory meeting, and Jim's got the first part where he's going to introduce everything, like why we're doing this within the apostolic preferences, and situating it within, the people we serve, which are these young men, and trying to help them create a hope-filled future, right? That's why we're doing this strategic planning for the institution. And every time we're meeting, I knew he was going to do that part, and I was going to introduce the Honora stuff, because what we wanted to do is strategically plan using gratitude-based learning. And Jim just kept talking through his intro, which is how he works. He practices. He's a storyteller. He's a master storyteller. And I kept listening, and I would take notes, and I was listening to this story that I'd heard before kind of get polished. And we'd always run out of time before I was able to introduce the Honora stuff. And so I said, well, you handle your introduction. I'll handle the Honora. We had this sort of rough outline together. I knew we needed some containers built in Google that was going to hold all these pieces, et cetera. So there's all these moving parts that had to get created. And the long story short is both of us, live and work, and this is one little aspect of our life. And so the night before this thing that we've been dreaming about and hoping for that's finally going to happen, we're still building a Google slideshow, to hold it all. So I know your teachers tell you not to procrastinate until the very end, but we're by far the worst. So anyway, just hold that in the back of your head for whatever it's worth. So Jim had said he was going to get up very early. And so I went to go work on it the night before the presentation. And if you guys have ever worked in a Google Doc where you're sharing, when one person adds, it like flips it back and forth. And I can see Jim decided to actually work on it that night. So I threw a couple of slides in and I got off because I didn't want to move the document too much while he was on it. And I took a bubble bath and I was like, whatever, I'll get up early. So I got up early and he had deleted all the stuff I had put into the document. So now I'm frantically trying to find all this stuff and put it back in the document. And so the thing goes on, and it actually launched really well, as it would, because these guys are amazing who are helping us do strategic planning, and the spirit was moving us. And at the end, he said, what did you think of all of it? We had a couple minutes to kind of think about it and reflect on it. And I said, well, I did what we needed to do. And I think it was good. And then I got off. And then he asked me a couple other questions, and I got off the phone, and I was just so frustrated because some of the comments that he'd made, he was intentionally trying to support what I was doing, but it came across as really kind of patronizing because he hadn't had a chance to see any of what we had done before. And it took me a while to even identify that word and to kind of figure out how I felt about the whole situation. And so 2 days later, and my normal MO is to sort of just take that. And I know Jim's heart is in the right place, and I know he and I want the same thing. And so normal Anne-Marie would just kind of let that go away. And then this little voice went on, and I thought, if I do that, I've really shot our project in the foot because I haven't given him the opportunity to respond, and neither of us are addressing the friction. And obviously there was friction on his end and there was friction on my end from how we were planning this. And, if this strategic plan has any hope going forward of succeeding, we're going to have to give each other the time and the space to really have an honest, frank conversation about that. And so, I put some time on our Google Calendar, and I wrote out what I was thankful for and how, what I thought worked really well with our presentation. And then I articulated what were the challenges and how it made me feel. And then, I gave it space so that we could kind of think about how to work through it. It was funny because when we sat down, we got into the conversation, I went through the whole script and I went through what worked well, and I went through a couple different challenges actually. And I got to the end and I kind of paused, and Jim looked at me and he goes, I think you've left something off. And I realized I'd left the whole issue of him deleting the slides and then what he said, like in my focus on all the other moving parts I had. And I was like, even consciously going into the meeting with that being the intention, I still put it under and I said, well, here's what bothered me. And he goes, I can see what you're saying, and I'm really sorry. And that was not my intent. And I said, I know it wasn't your intent, And I said, the only reason that you hadn't seen any of the Honora stuff was because we didn't create time for that. And so the whole conversation was such a great conversation. And he said, I'm so glad that you had the courage to talk about that with me. And I'm so glad, and so we've kind of reevaluated our roles, and we have a much more open pathway to conversation that wouldn't have happened if he and I hadn't had the time and really even just circle back that kind of looping of what is causing you to feel that way, or what anything else, is there anything else that you want to talk about with respect to that? And so I think this GBL, again, I always tell people it's not anything that we don't know. That none of us have heard already. None of this is like lightning bolt, new stuff. This is just taking those pieces, those kind of old pieces of just how we treat people with graciousness and courtesy, and bringing them all together, and then saying, oh yeah, in this hyper speed reality of the 21st century, we have to create time and space to listen to each other. And then we have to have the courage to have those conversations. So to me, that I think is the greatest gift. And it also brings up two things, which is we really, really have to pay attention. Like Henrik and Adam always ask really great questions, which is, what's your greatest hope that this could become, or what's your greatest fear? And I'm like, oh, well, whatever. There's, but having the courage to admit that there is a fear, and what that fear is, and naming it and identifying it, then allows you not to necessarily, I never want to spend time on it. It's not like I don't think those are important. I always want to find the solution, but if I don't sit on that, then I have a bigger problem down the road. And then the other thing that I think this story demonstrates is, and we can kind of come to this in our own reality, is not everybody's ready for those conversations. You mentioned Brooklyn Farmers. I don't want to have that conversation with you. And so I think as we have these conversations, when the person who we want to have the conversation isn't ready yet, we have to respect that. And then I think the only thing we can do is kind of hold that reality in prayer and say, okay, well, at some point, hopefully we'll get to have that conversation. So those would be my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. That was beautiful. And yeah, it's again a story of, it's not necessarily easy, right? But I think I was so happy to hear that story from you when we were talking the other day, because to me it showed that you actually practice gratitude-based learning. Because let's say we've gone out there and wanted to implement, hey, we need to do this on both sides or whatever. You allowed that other person to fully bring in all the things that he needed to feel heard and seen, I think. And from that, a connection is made, you're able to move forward together now. So I'm not sure you realized that yourself. But I was so happy to see that you were able to do that and create the base for moving forward together. And those 3 parts of gratitude-based learning, the last one, doing stuff together, you're developing together, and you got to that point. And so, thumbs up here. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Sarah, did you say you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I didn't stop the chat. I just was saying if there's time, I would love to do a quick share, but
if it's a quick share, I would love that. And we'll use that as our segue here. Thank you, Sarah.
all right now you want me to do it?
Is that okay?
Oh yeah, sure. I just wanted to bring in the aspect of GBL with yourself. And my quick share will be this. Some of you know Brooke, I know you know Henrik and Adam. So when I was in my group, I had recently quit drinking before that, after being a high functioning alcoholic for a long time. And I had thought that when I quit drinking, everything would just be better, right? I put the bottle down, my life would be great. I did not realize that was the beginning of a very long journey to really dig into what was going on, why I was drinking, all of that. And I really had to look at, the ideas that my parents had put in my head when I was younger about nobody cares what I have to say. I'm not valuable. All that matters is what degrees I have. And sorry, this is I still have so much embedded deep emotions that it just talking about it, and I'm vibrating. But thank you all for listening to me with this. But so the idea of GBL with yourself, when I was going through just this journey, and Adam, I'll be super quick. I'm wrapping up now. But I had to have gratitude for myself, and instead of berating myself with why can't I no longer do the things that I was able to do, or why can't I function like a normal person, I really had to be curious with myself. And instead of just being very harsh and judgmental like I was taught to be with myself, I really went at it with curiosity. And I would talk to myself. It sounds not in a schizo weird way, but I would put a buffer between myself and my reactions. And like with Brooke, you talk to the GMO farmer, your first instinct is to want to be very confrontational. You don't want to talk to this person. I felt like I had that with myself because I was so used to bottling down my emotions, bottling up everything, and just trying to navigate life. Again, I went to law school to make my parents maybe proud of me, and really created my whole life around just trying to serve someone else and burying all of myself within myself, and the alcohol helped. So once that was gone, and I was having these conversations for the first time with myself about what I really wanted with my life, how I felt, and why, and navigating all these belief systems that I had been, raised with, that they were not correct, and I had to have gratitude to get curious with myself, and my own thoughts and my own belief systems. And I don't think I could have done that if I was harsh and berating with myself, because I think that's part of the cycle that people get into, and that's why I turned to alcohol. So I will say that this program, the timing on it was really, really interesting too, because I had quit drinking very short. I don't remember exactly, but within maybe a week or two. And joining this was another one of my high functioning things. Pile on all the stuff, everything will be fine. And I do believe this class helped me way more than I even realized, because it helped me to like put that space in. Adam, I'm so sorry, I'm wrapping up now, but it helped me put that space in between, you know, friction. The word used here so much is friction. I had so much friction with myself, and really trying to just dig through so many layers of things with myself. And I think that we shouldn't do anything. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I think that taking GBL and turning it back on ourselves, and not just seeing it only as something that you could have with another person or a group, you can use it with yourself, and your own thoughts and your reactions. And if you find yourself getting really mad, you can pause and say, oh, I'm curious, Sarah or whoever, why are you feeling so mad now? And be curious with yourself and let yourself explore your own emotions without that friction against yourself. So thank you for letting me add that. I just wanted, and thank you all for just witnessing that. And I'm sorry I was so emotional in the beginning, but just a little perspective on that, because I feel like everything's always outwardly faced with how we can interact with others. And turning that GBL back on yourself, I think it's helped me a lot, and I think it can help other people, and hopefully it'll help any of you if you ever need it. So thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah, I mean, to the point. I mean, it's if we don't start with ourselves, where do we start, huh? So you're a living example for others to follow, and so thank you for showing up and sharing your story. I think what you're doing is the very most difficult, right? So much easier to go outward and do stuff elsewhere, but starting with ourselves, that's a tough one. And doing it by yourself, even harder, in my opinion. So just know that we are here for you, or anybody else here. You're not alone. Sometimes it's easier to do it together, getting curious together. And should that be the case, please just show up. We're here for you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And Sarah, you said it better than any of us could. Is, especially on a day like today, that's like right before Earth Day, and it's all about changing the world, right? Changing the outside. But intentionally in our programs, we go inward before we go outward.
Yeah, that's
because, like you said, that's where it starts. And doing it together, right? When you have people together going inward, people together doing that together, that's powerful. And so there's a phrase that what we're calling is dandelion communities, right? Where you're feeling seen, heard, valued, appreciated. And you might realize, your community, your family, your workplace, your church, your synagogue, it's already a dandelion community. And this is just the phrase that we're putting to what we call these spaces that we're intentionally trying to create and nurture and grow together. And why dandelions, though, right? Some see them as a weed, but we can see them from a different lens as well, as they're also medicine. And it's hard to not think of a dandelion and envision a kid blowing on the seeds and literally that breath creating so much life, which is what these communities are about. When we're feeling seen, heard, valued, appreciated, we can give that space to one another. It breathes life into all of us, and truly just seeds are getting spread that can grow in so many ways. And so in terms of leading dandelion communities, we have a framework that we go about teaching this, again, that will bring this back here, that phase one of finding gratitude, then creating connection and developing together. And there's an opportunity here to then try it out. Okay. And so we have an opportunity coming up here to try out and get a flavor for what this feels like before joining any multi-week, any big training program, or before bringing friends into this, before bringing this to your company. We have a try it out workshop that's actually next Sunday. So basically the same time as today, from 10 to 12, a 2-hour workshop where you'll leave with 3 GBL action tools, and we're going to get to train it together, and we'll leave with a practice plan to implement in the real world. And it's an $18 ticket. And we also have different pricing options. So $9 if you want to choose a supported option, $27 if you'd like to choose a supporter option. And we're going to get to experience this, get to share this with others. But there's multiple opportunities ahead. So that that try it out event is really the prerequisite to join any of our training programs, because we want to make sure that you're actually going to vibe with the energy of this, the practicality of this. This would actually be worth your time before you commit any real time or money into this. Because then coming up in May and June, we have a program for gratitude-based learning and leadership that's focused on healing the food system. And then in July, we have our program for students that are passionate about sustainability. And then in July, we also have a program for educators or leaders in schools, like administrators, presidents, principals of that nature. And then in August is when our capacity opens up to for our programs with employees and managers. So if you want to bring us into your company, Arnaldo brought us into his company. We had 200 people sign up for the gratitude-based leadership workshop series. So if bringing something into your company is something that you'd like to see happen, that opportunity opens up again in August for us. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and just share a huge thank you to this group. Huge thank you to this group, because, right, we can record stuff, we can share stuff otherwise, but this time we have together, we just get to be together, and the feelings that bubble up, the things we get to share together, it's magic is just the word that comes up. And none of that happens without people here showing up, right? And that other 10%, the video on, the asking questions, the share, like, you add that together and it's incredible. If we can, we'll open up the after party here. If I could play a video just to kick off the after party.
Sure.
It might be just a little different flavor than the videos that we typically see. It's a story of someone that couldn't be here that wanted to share. And it's her name's Maura, and we've been working with her and her company for the last year or so here. And we might be leaving this event being like, I'm gung-ho, I want to tell everyone about this. We should all do this. We should all do that. And as her company, they, in the situation that she'll talk about, is her and Mike, the CEO, they're like, how should we should revamp our benefits to our employees. We want to fix these problems and we should do this. And Shai is the employee that they're talking about that they could just ask. Right. And so as Anne Marie was talking about, right, a program has the input from the people that are actually impacted from it. And so just before we get off and are like, I want to now everyone to go do this thing that I think is the best and it should happen this way, just to give us a chance to hear from Maura about what it's like leading a company, trying to put this stuff into practice.
Like talking about like what coaches need and what benefits coaches need, and we're talking about Shai as an example, and we're just like going down this like mind reading, future predicting pathway, and it's like we have no idea. Why aren't we just going to the source? Let's like have a curiosity conversation with Shai. And some of what we talked about was on point, and a lot of it had like we didn't have to do half of what we were planning to do. Like what if all that work we were about to do, we didn't even have to do, because that's not what they need. That's not what Shai needs. It's not what the team needs. Just even the like the tool, like, hey, we're just gonna have a curiosity conversation, like lightens it up for people rather than like, you did this and you know, whatever it is. Just like a way to talk.
What's the impact that's had on you, on the team?
Like people are definitely changing. Like we're watching change like as we're going here. People are growing and changing and learning every day how to show up kind of differently than they have in other life experiences in the past. And just that you're getting like just the actual like act of being curious with someone rather than just like pinning them to something that you think is happening, or only how you feel about the situation is not what's in the space. Say like, okay, we know that we're both in this place together. We probably want the same outcome. So how can we get there together? So like that, just the solution focused rather than the problem focused mindset is very empowering for everyone on the team, I think.
What's the value of this practice, right? Feelings are great, but the value in terms of a team, in terms of a company, what's the value that you're experiencing that you would see that others might experience as well?
I think when people feel like they're being seen and heard, they're more than just an employee or a worker, or there's a whole person there. They feel more inclined to want to show up the way that they're needed on the team. Yeah, they just feel more valued, and so they're gonna want to show up better for you. And people stay. People want to be here.
One more beautiful story.
Yeah.
But we'll be opening up here for questions or comments, or you can share just about anything. But what's something you've been taking away from today? Maybe Graham?
Sure. I just wanted to say that this was an awesome experience and that I learned a lot from all of your stories, and that it was great to meet you all, and that I hope I can continue exploring GBL in the future and in other projects and things I do at my school.
Absolutely. Stay in touch at least. Brooke,
Okay, so I just have to say, I thought it was a wonderful experience, and I loved hearing from the students. I love you, Arnaldo, and Sarah. You're always on point, and just the courage in you is phenomenal. But for me, it was also wonderful to hear the students' point of view, because that's not a group that I have any exposure to, and I'm really curious about what is going on in that space, because you guys are the ones who are this future, this new earth, this what we are creating to do better on this planet is in your hands. And so to hear the inspiration and the openness, and that the curiosity and the willingness to learn and absorb and actually get in action and show up and do all of this is so inspiring. So I just thank you. Thank you. I am so thrilled to hear that. So, Graham, you're the only one left, but I just so appreciate you. Wanted to let that be known.
Beautiful. What else? Charlie. There you are. How's it going? You're muted just in case. Is it possible to unmute? Try again. No.
As Charlie's getting the audio set up, it's before we started doing stuff with high school students, I had the perspective. Hi, buddy. Come on. I had the perspective of, oh, if you start doing stuff with students, you've given up on the now. You've just kicked it to the next generation. And that's certainly not how I feel now. My feeling now is no, the way in which every single one of us here is engaging with ourselves, as Sarah so eloquently put it, and then engaging with one another, that's changing the future for generations that will come after us, but it's also changing it for us now. And so it's not just kicking the can. Like me, let's just say old Adam would have been like, my son Aiden, no, Adam's on a call right now. Dad is on a call. And with the gift of this group, right, helping this stuff stay present, ever present in my mind, it's like, we're doing this together. Like we are connected. We are not separate. It's be where our feet are and be present with one another. And that magic happens when we just get to be present and have fun in life together. Like it's not just a future thing, it's a now thing. And so I just wanted to share that, because that was there was almost like a settling feeling that I felt beforehand that I don't feel now, because it's every little interaction is huge.
Hey, there's one more. Next generation. Charlie, does your sound work now? Try to say something. No. keep working at it. We would love to hear from you. No? Maybe log off, log in again. I don't know anything.
Arnaldo, you're muted.
Yeah, Sarah, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Sarah, by the way, thank you so much for sharing. That was so amazing. Loved it. Loved it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I should have taken some time to think about it first, but I just kind of felt momentarily inspired, and I feel like if you gave me 5 minutes, I could have said it way more eloquently and just, packed it all in to like a little snippet. But yeah, the whole thing just kind of, I feel like it just come full circle for me and made me realize, almost like Adam, what you were just saying about, your perspective of thinking, were you kicking the can, or, you would have told him to like, daddy's on the call right now, and how everything is connected, and inward, it's almost like as above, so below, it within and without, and that one student, I forget his name, but how he was saying, he, the one who Henrik had to have a talk with, the badminton player, yeah, kind of what he was saying too about just sort of like not being focused and wanting to kind of get to the thing before he learns what the thing even is, like learn the skills. He just wanted to jump right to the ring. I don't know. I feel like this is this class teaches you so much more. Not class, I don't know what you call it, but whatever it is, it teaches you so much more that just how you can interact with other people and your thoughts and your heart, and the present and the past and the future, and just bring it all together. So yeah, I appreciate the time too. I thought I would have said it quicker, but
no, it's
Adam, you were like,
absolutely beautiful.
you say it quick when you go, and then I wasn't too quick.
When you're having that
The fact that
inspiration, that's the moment, right? It's authentic, it's real, and so no, I'm really happy that you did that. So,
and I almost didn't say it. My heart was pounding, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go there. My heart was pounding. I was like, ugh. But I just hit enter on. I was like, Sarah, just do it. And I hit enter on the thing, and then I just committed to having to share it. So,
could I ask how have you gone about it? Because it's been quite a while since you've been in the program. I mean, we've had just very few meetings in the group since. But how have you gone about it? On your own, or with somebody else?
That I could say very concisely. I would describe it as I cocooned myself and I made my world very, very small, which sounds bad, but it was necessary, and I let myself do it. I also read probably like 50 books, and I did an ACA, the Adult Children of Alcoholics program. I did that. IFS. I took a meditation course. I basically just did everything I could. I journaled a ton. I put a 5-degree separation between, I'm also very spiritual, which helps. And I mean like shamanism, like soul, like that sort of thing. So I saw myself fully as like this soul in this body, and took a few degrees separation between myself and the 3D, like the third dimensional world. And I just got very curious. And I would note all of my thoughts and my reactions. And I got such a hold of my brain. And I would just, the few degrees of separation, I was like a scientist with a microscope on myself. And that's where I thought I could have gone off the rails, and been like, you should, because my dad's the type of dad who, like, when my cat of 15 years died, the next day I told him I was sad, and he yelled at me and said, you should be well over this by now. It's been 24 hours. And I'm like, and I was a very sensitive kid. So growing up with that, it's spun me out, but sorry. But yeah, I would say just getting so curious about questioning everything. Every time I would have a thought of like, oh, you can't do that, I would say, no, why do I think that? Where's the proof? What makes me think that? I just, I harnessed everything I had in me and every resource I could get outside of me, but I didn't talk to a therapist. I may end up doing that, but with one aspect of my life, I'm struggling with my romantic relationship. But I have a map for that. I have it all mapped out. And I think I could hone that. But basically, I made my life very, very small. I cocooned in, and then as I felt ready, I just slowly started expanding it more. as this new version of me. I feel like I took this chalkboard that was me and my life and I wiped it clean. And that's when I quit drinking. And that was, like I said, I thought I would just put the bottle down, everything would be great. And, you know, that summer I was going to expand my garden to quadruple the size. And I quickly realized, like, oh, no. I need to stop almost everything. Because that chalkboard's empty. And that means I now am like a baby chicken who just hatched. And I don't really know what to do. And that was terrifying. I mean, it's horrifying. There were points where I would describe it as like the darkest, saddest depths within me that I never let myself feel. I went and I sat there and it was horrifying. And then I finally just was able to sit there and like meditate and become one with it almost in a way. And like the deep wounds in me finally started to heal. The ones that they were like, sorry to be gross, but they were just like festering forever. And I just kept, don't look at them and they'll go away. And I finally went and I showed them some love and light, you know, and I let them heal. And I'm nowhere near done yet. It's been over a year. Like when Brooke, you said it's been a year and a half, I was like, oh my gosh. But I could see the progress and I am celebrating my little victories and I'm being grateful for it all, you know, not to, like to go back to the gratitude based. I'm grateful for it all. And my spiritual beliefs help. You know, I do believe that I signed up for this. At some point, my soul was like, I want to go to that planet and experience this. And part of me is like, why would I ever want this? But I think after it, it's like I'm walking to the darkest depths of any hell that I could ever imagine with this. But I think at the other end, I think I'll feel happiness like I never thought I could feel. So it's a gift and a blessing that I could have turned out like my mom, you know, and just drink myself to death and never look inward. So it's rough, and my heart goes out to anyone else struggling with this. And I hope one day that I could become an alcohol and drug counselor. I don't know. I want to do something of service with it, maybe counsel children, not counsel them, but like I want to somehow turn it into something where I could pass it on and help others who are going through this. But man, it is such a journey. It is awful. It's amazing, and it's just mine. It's what I'm doing, and yeah, I don't know. That also wasn't quick, like I said. Sorry, I'm a writer.
Sarah, this is, and I'm so glad Charlie's here because he wrote a song about this. We think that we have to have this like whole. When you say I want to be able to serve and help, and so that now I need to start some institute. I need to create some program. I need to do something. And Charlie wrote the song about being a half-baked cookie. And
I remember it.
And you not having to have these perfect words figured out. Like that to me is like the biggest medicine that this community has been for me too, is like that. When you don't even have to know what the words are. They can simply be feelings, and we can figure out the words together. And you can bring it in, and we can figure out what is the cookie even together. Like that is huge. So you just doing that here, that's already serving. That's already her serving all of us. And the number of people, by the way, that have joined our program and that have gotten we've all gotten to meet because of Charlie sharing his truth. And it didn't start some big crazy program. It literally is a 1.5-minute video of him speaking his truth, that simply sharing that is rippling all over. And us just getting that's why we do this event, is that we are changing the world literally, but just right now. And yes, things are happening in the future that we don't even know about, but just us getting to enjoy this moment together that's it. It's why it's like so big, but just so small at the same time.
It's all we have.
It's just us.
It's all we have. And it's
so special.
Yeah. And that's a huge part, I think, of what we do as humans. You know, we're always, I don't know what the stats are on it, but like how many thoughts we have per day, and how many of them are either thinking about the past, things we could have done or said differently, or projecting the future, what we should do in 10 minutes. And just the power of now is so important. And like, it sounds so cliche in a way, you know, because we're told that all the time, right? I think there's actually, isn't Ram Dass one of his things, the power of now? But it is so, it's literally all we have. You have just that moment to make a decision. And I could tell you, as a recovered alcoholic, like that's where the power is, you know. Sorry, it's like,
oh God, Tara.
It's like just I haven't let myself feel, you know. So it's good, but there's so much power in the now, you know, and it's like everything that's ever happened in the past, but you don't think about it. You just kind of feel it and just be in it. And that's another thing too about just being. The whole thing of like, I was raised to think like you need to do, constantly do, get 20 million degrees. You better be the top of everything or you're a failure. And it's like, I don't even want to, I just want to lay and look at the moss. I think moss is like one of the most beautiful things in the world, you know, just to sit and look at moss for 10 minutes and just be. There's so much power in that. That is like, to me, that's life, you know? And in that moment when you want to start thinking you should be doing something else, to just be able to stop and say, no, I'm just going to be. I'm just going to be. Let myself sit here and just be. There's so much power in that. And I don't know. Okay, that's it.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for sharing. I mean, it's just so, I'm just so inspired by you, and I just love you sharing your journey, and thank you for the courage, and thank you for coming today. It is just a blessing for all of us. Anyway.
Brooke, you're so inspiring. Every time you speak, I'm just like, keep going, preach.
Oh.
Thank you. As soon as I saw the email, I think I signed up. If you look at the time track, I opened it right up and just signed up immediately. I had to be here. And I'm sorry that I haven't been. I just, like I said, I cocooned. I had to make my world so small. I didn't want to show up anywhere inauthentically, and I didn't know what that meant. You know, but I just knew. I knew it was a thing. I didn't know exactly what it meant, but I needed to wipe my chalkboard clean. Like I said, I just put more things on it. And this email came through, and it was just perfect, like perfect timing. So I'm so happy to be here.
We're thrilled.
You know,
Everybody.
you're describing some of those things that Brooke put into our program for the dandelions, and one of the things that we would like to try to get across in our communication there is, heal the future, heal the planet. It's something happening in the future, right? It starts now, here, where we are, and I think that's a monumental shift in how we go about things the moment we start with ourselves, and it starts right now. And so, yeah, it's a completely different perspective to things. So you're spot on.
I'll say.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Brooke yesterday. I'll start. My friend Barbara, I took this program called Right to Heal, Dr. Lise Rankin. And before that, I took the Internal Family Systems course and got all the books and all that stuff. And so Barbara said, have you started your memoir? Now, I wasn't ever planning on writing a book that other people would get to read. It was just a way for me. So I started the process. I bought an artist pad. I like the paper. And I found this artist pencil. So now I'm having fun starting my memoir. Don't need to know where it's going to take me. It's just like you've already said 100 million times, just show up and get going. So with the dandelion, when I seen that, I was so happy, because I was one of these people that would spend hours on my knees taking the dandelions up, because my wife, she didn't like to being on the lawn. And I think it was Dr. Bush or somebody like him talked about the dandelions show up as part of the process of restoring the communication system in the soil. And so when I would heard share, because I'm a recovering addict, and those first dandelions, as I would dig them up, I see they struggled. They didn't have, the roots might go, they're trying to get down. But eventually, they started to soften the soil up. And when you dig them up in a healthy soil, you'll see the roots are like, wow. And I didn't realize that that healthy soil is the communication system. And so what I used to eat in life, I say, no, that's destroyed my communication system. All the mercury fillings I had 16 of those, and blah, blah, blah. So it's, I like to believe that God saved the best for last. And so the younger people are here to teach us, especially when you had the children. I went to see my granddaughter sing in a choir yesterday. She's 10 now, Annabelle. She's a singer-songwriter, an artist. And I just love my two granddaughters so much. And watching all these kids sing and the feeling in the room was like, wow, look at these kids up here showing us how to play. And then I got to go watch Annabelle play hockey last night. She's tired, but so yeah, I'm grateful for Barbara to give me a shove. And the thing, Sarah, that you probably already know this, but I think it's important for me to acknowledge that Adam and Henrik and Brooke have. I started part of the addictive process is to first talking about problems instead of taking action. I read all the books, take all the programs, and then I'm stuck. And so I'm up to here in the quicksand. And what's my only option? Help. Because the more I struggle, the deeper I go. So I went right up to here and I realized I have to reconnect with you people. And seeing what you've accomplished is so beautiful. I almost chickened out. And I'm still beating the shit out of myself. So I'm learning as I put the pencil down on paper, when I feel whatever has got to come out. And once I funnel it all down, it comes, I'm not alone. I'm a child of God. And he loves me just the way I am. And he has a plan. It's called the plan of happiness. And isn't it time I did the happy dance? You remember the old show in New York City years ago? These two comedians, they had a show and they'd say, let's do a happy dance. And they would do this stupid dance. I used to get such a charge out of it because it's silly, but when you do it, you feel great, right? And so my granddaughter, Emily, she's taking dancing lessons. She had one class. So she's at the hockey game running all over the place. And all the kids were doing the same thing. They're all running around dancing. And I was like, wow. So when I get nervous, I do this. I talk too much, but I just want you to know that without intention, we have nothing. Without family, we have nothing. So the fact that you're honoring your original intention. So at the end of all our searching, we end up where we began and recognize the place for the first time. That's what's going on inside of me. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you,
proud of
Charlie.
you. I'm really proud of you, Charlie. It's not easy, and you're here, you're here right now. You're breathing and you're alive and you're with us, and I'm really proud of you. You're perfect, that's it.
It's true. Absolutely. Wow. Such a moving. Thank you, guys.
There's someone
So
that says that showing up is is just half the battle, right?
I felt I was at a 12-step meeting and I was fully accepted. As Dr. Bush says, I watched so many people die, take their last breath, believing they're not enough and they're not fully accepted, which is a delusion. It's not true. And I made it through a whole hour or whatever, and I didn't say anything. The girl that you put me in the room with, my microphone was working, except so that's a blessing. So she got to share with me, and then the young fellow that I was talking to, Graham, like, wow, these are the leaders of our future. Sarah, I mean, anyway, thank you.
I think that's a good place to end this call. We said thank you. It's a good one.
Thank you, guys.
It's been
Thank you, all of
wonderful.
you.
One more time. Yeah.
You guys. We'll
You're all
just
perfect. Yes, you are.
thank you.
So much love. Thank you.
Cheers, folks.
Stay in touch,
Happy
okay?
Earth Week.
Bye, everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
out.
Thank you.
Stay in touch.
It was
Bye-bye.
so nice to see your son, Adam.
He was excited. He was very excited to see everybody.
Because I remember that you looked the night you went to the hospital. And all that
Yep. This actually, the very first time we did this type of showcase was when he was born, and I wasn't there. Wyatt and Henrik and all you guys ran the show, and it was awesome. And it was the very first time that Adam let go. And Adam's learning how to let go. It's a learning process. But that was the very first time. And so this is just a continued anniversary.
That was where your video was recorded, Charlie.
All right, you guys. So I look forward to seeing you
Right.
further down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We miss
Charlie.
you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
My
Bye.
friend.